You know, the thing about Fox is they love giving you some of the information, but never all of the information so that you can make a completely informed decision. Here is another instance of that on the Kelly file, where they have two people that are going to discuss not just this situation, but the Philando Castile situation. And if you don't remember what happened there, Mr. Castile was pulled over by a police officer because of the shape of his nose. And the shape of his nose was similar to that of a person who had committed an armed robbery. And yeah, the cop actually said it was the shape of his nose that made him suspicious enough to pull Mr. Castile over. Now, Mr. Castile was a law-abiding citizen. Great job. Had been targeted a lot by police for traffic violations. No robberies, no felonies, no nothing other than being targeted for traffic violations. And he had 50 of them, okay? But those are traffic violations. He hasn't hurt anybody, right? Speeding, red lights, whatever it was, traffic violations. And I think that most people will consider traffic violations, even if it's 50 of them, you know, minor offenses. Anyway, he gets pulled over, and officer approaches him. Mr. Castile does the right thing, notifies the officer that he has a weapon in the car. The officer panics and shoots him. Now, rolling around in Texas, you don't even, you know, if an officer asks you if you have any weapons in the car, obviously, you know, if you know, you have to answer truthfully, yes, I have a weapon in the car, no, I don't. And it's always a good practice not to really say all that much. But if you have a concealed carry, when the officer first approaches you and he asks you for license and proof of insurance, I find it pretty easy to pull out my license, and I also pull out my concealed carry permit, and I hand both of those things to him, and I look him in the face. He knows that I'm legit, or at least would believe that I'm legit, and he doesn't really, well, they have not really said anything else to me, okay? Now, I normally keep my proof of insurance right next to my weapon. So I notify them and I tell them, I said, look, my proof of insurance is in my console and it's right next to my weapon. What do you want me to do? Every single time, officers have no problem. They say, just go ahead and go get it. Open it up, you know, they're looking at me, the weapon's right there. They don't even tell me to pull it out and put it to the side. Pull out my proof of insurance, hand it to them, and wait, they go back, they run me, they run my car, everything's fine. Sometimes they give me a break and give me a warning. Sometimes they actually, well, will write me a ticket. Well, that was once. Most of the time I get a warning. One time I did get a ticket written. That's exactly what happened with the Castile case, except the officer panicked when Mr. Castile, following instructions, went to get his registration and proof of insurance, and that's when the officer panicked and shot him. And in the video that his girlfriend shot, she stated exactly that. You told him to get his information and then you shot him. All right, anyway, that's the brief history. Here's the a piece where Fox is going to comment about Eugene Robinson's contention that being a black man in America and having a gun is a dangerous proposition. Here we go.
Has erupted after Washington Post columnist Eugene Robinson said that the police would not have opened fire in Charlotte, North Carolina, had it been a white man with a gun. Writing, quote, "In America, gun rights are only for white people." Dana Lash is the host of Dana on the Blaze and the author of Hands Off My Gun. Richard Fowler is a nationally syndicated radio talk show host and senior fellow at the New Leaders Council. Richard, do you agree with Eugene?
Oh, I think Eugene wrote a very, very interesting piece, and I think it's a piece that's thought-provoking, and I think this is actually something that me and Dana might agree on. While I don't agree with the Second Amendment, I believe everybody should have access to it, and beyond that, there should be due process. So if you do have a gun in a state where there is some sort of carry law, either concealed carry or open carry, you should get your due process rights first. So you have the Scott case, which is still questionable, but in the Philando Castile case, which I think is the most important case to look at this, is he was indeed a gun owner. He had a license, and the police officer didn't ask to see his concealed carry permit. He asked for his wallet. He thought he was reaching for a gun, and he shot him.
That's the one where the man was in the back of the car and his wife...
No, he was in the front. He was in the front seat of the car.
And his girlfriend was streaming it live, basically. Went on Facebook Live and started talking about it. Okay. Dana, you tell me, because Eugene's argument is that open carry is legal in North Carolina. He had a gun. There's nothing illegal about that. And just what did he do? He was sitting in a car with a gun.
Yeah, first, Megan, thanks for having me. I thought Eugene's piece was uninformed and silly, but I do agree with Richard, and that I think that Second Amendment for law-abiding Americans, that's something that I completely support the access thereof. Here's the deal. With Philando Castile, yes, he actually was, by all accounts and by records that have been produced by local media, he was in possession of a CHL. He's a concealed carry licensee. Here's the problem, though. Your concealed carry license means precisely squat. When you are sitting in your vehicle and you are hearing from an officer to keep your hands where that officer can see them. Now, I'm still waiting.
See, and that's the bullshit line that they're trying to run. And because the girlfriend hadn't videotaped it from the very beginning, they're allowed to use that narrative. Mr. Castillo had done nothing wrong. Okay, nothing, clean record, regular stop, been stopped 49 times prior, okay, never an issue. Now, all of a sudden, he's going to do something jerky? No, he was following that officer's commands to provide his documentation, which is what the girlfriend said. So your bullshit argument is not going to wash.
For more information, and I wish that the media would be, and I wish that the law enforcement, the sheriff's department in this case would be more open about it, Megan, because the last that I heard, we were still kind of waiting to see exactly what happened when the officer approached the window and what Mr. Castile's hands were doing at that particular time. Megan, I have been stopped before, and I'm a little white woman. I have been stopped before, and I've had the officer ask me for my license and registration. I forgot one piece of paper, and it was in my glove box, and I was going to reach over, and the officer, "No, ma'am, you can't do that. Keep your hands where I can see them." I'm not gonna disobey an order. I'm gonna keep my hands on the steering wheel.
Richard, because
okay, but see, that's the bullshit narrative. If the officer tells you to go get that piece of paper, which is what happened in the Castile case, and you reach to go get that piece of paper and he shoots you, ta-da!
The gun defenders will say, you see a cop ordering you to drop your gun, and you have one option, which is drop it.
Right, I hear that. I think there's tons and tons of cases where you see that, there's Caucasian people who have guns and the officer to drop it and they don't. But in the Philando Castile case in particular, which is what Dana was referring to, the officer asked him for his driver's license registration. According to his girlfriend, he says to the officer, they're in the glove box.
Right,
I have a concealed carry permit.
It is one incident.
The point is this, and
okay, see, now they want to fall back and have to agree with this gentleman. But they want to use the excuse, oh, but that's just one incident. That is one incident too many.
I think me and Dana can agree that every gun owner should have due process to present their papers or present their concealed carry permit before being shot or before being threatened with violence.
But if there's not time and you're given a direct order and you've got cops ordering you, I gotta leave it at that. I gotta leave it. My apologies.
All right, and there's Megan. She cut it off right there before they could actually get into it. And lately, I've noticed she's got a history of cutting stuff off when one side, obviously the progressive side, is winning an argument.